It's Maymay and welcome back to day 2 of our Christmas in July series. And today we're turning these 3 guys into one guy, a snowman. I'm so excited to show you this. So these little wreaths actually were given to me by my dad. He went to a yard sale, found these wreaths, picked them up for me, and you guys pinned something very similar on our Christmas in July by you, for you Pinterest board, and I thought I'd kind of play with that idea. Now to do this project, you'll need 3 different size wreaths. The sizes are totally up to you, really. I've got about 15, this is about 12, and this is probably about 9 here. So they just kind of stair-step down. That's the trick, you want them to stair-step. So there's our 3 wreaths that we're going to use, and then I got to show you something. I got this at a local thrift store, and they had 2 of these, so I bought both of them, and look what I did. I cut one in half, so here's half a hat. And then, see, the inside looks the same. I painted it this kind of slate gray color, and the reason is my snowman's not going to be really black, red, and white. I know, you can't believe it. It's going to be a little more rustic, especially for me. And you can thank Vince for that because he picked these colors out. So
that's right.
He's filming for me today. So there is my hat, or half a hat. So that'll be the top of our snowman. We're also going to use some... These are poinsettias made out of like a burlap. Isn't that pretty? I got these at Hobby Lobby, and then I found these guys. They're little burlap twine snowflakes. I think they're so cute. So I got 3 of these, 5 of these, and ribbon. This ribbon was actually in my stash, and I just think it works really well. We actually bought some ribbon to go with it, but we ended up not loving it, so when we got home, we liked this better. So let's get started. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wire my wreaths together. Now because of this being such a large project, meaning it's going to be so tall, we're going to film in sections so you can see me do everything. And at the end of the video, we'll do like a pan across so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so this is just a piece of wire from my stash. I just have a spool of wire. I use it all the time. I'm going to run it through one and then out the other. Now, if you're using styrofoam wreaths, you could hot glue them. You could even tie these with ribbon together. As long as they're connected together, that's all you're trying to do. And I'm actually doing this on the front because I'm going to cover this up anyway. So I'm not even worried about doing this to the back of it. So as you can see, I've got this one wired together and I've wired together the other end too, but it's hard to see, so we're going to work in this area. Now, this hat, I want to put angled at the top here, which I think is super cute, and it actually fits perfect. If you can't find a hat like this, and these may be hard to come by, I noticed yesterday at Hobby Lobby they had some plastic top hats, and those will work just fine. Just cut one of those in half. So what I'm going to do here is glue this down, but before I do that, I want to put some decoration on the hat itself, so let's do that. So let me show you what I'm doing. This is a full piece of that ribbon that I'm going to use, but I'm cutting a piece off to make the brim of the hat here so it'll fit in the area for the brim. So I just kind of did a little eyeball measuring, and I'm just cutting it. And I'm going to actually adhere the loose side of the ribbon down so the wired edge will be at the top. I just think that'll dress that hat up a good bit. Now I'll put some hot glue on the end where the brim, where the ribbon is going to go here. And I'm going to lay this in there. Just like that. Be careful here because like my ribbon is woven, so you want to be careful not to burn yourself with your hot glue. I'm just going to put some in this area like that, and then just lay that in it. I'm not even going to worry about pushing because I'm pulling on it a little bit, that way I don't get my finger in it. And then back here on the end, got a lot of strings on this glue. I'm using it a little cool, so that's probably what it is. I need to let it heat up a little more. So there's the hat. I think that looks super cute just like that. But I'm going to want to add some flowers to it. I'm not going to do it just yet, but I'm going to use some of the leftovers after we get done, and I'm going to put that on it. So I'm going to bring the snowman head back over, and this is going to go right here. Now what I think I'm going to do is just take my glue gun, and where this touches, I'm going to glue it, which I'm almost like tacking it in place. So I put a little glue there. I'm going to come over here and put a little glue here where it touches. And then once this sets, I'm going to flip it over and glue the back where I can see it. So I'm just going to hold that and let it set, then we'll flip it over. So I flipped it over, and you can see here where this top of the hat meets. I'm going to tack it with the hot glue again, just using the glue to get down in there and grab a hold. If you're not sure about just using the hot glue, you can always wire this. This is a styrofoam hat, so you can just stick the wire through it, but I'm just going to use the hot glue and let that hold it in place. Now, I put my hat at an angle. I think that a snowman would have their hat at an angle. I don't know why. He's a dapper snowman, so that's why he's that way. Now it's time to do a bow. Now, I'm going to do a bow in this area to kind of mimic the feel of a scarf, and I'm going to do a very simple bow. It's one that I've shown you guys before in other videos where I'm just going to make some loops, okay? So I'm just going to loop my ribbon over, giving myself as whatever length of tail I want to hang out to this side and making my loop whatever size I want it. The trick to this is to twist. See how I've got that piece twisted? Don't lay it straight, twist it, because you want this ribbon to come down. Now, because this is single-sided ribbon, I'm going to flip this other ribbon over it and do the same thing. Now, I want more than 2 loops on my bow, so I'm going to come behind here and make another one. Now, for this last loop, you see how we've made like, this is kind of a, I don't know if it's like a figure 8, but we've done that a couple times, and now we got this last loop to send through. Now, if I send it across the top, my bows kind of compete. These little loops compete. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to send this loop underneath. That way, and twist it a little like we did the first one. That way those loops won't compete with each other. Now I'm just going to squish this in the middle. Squish is a technical term, by the way. Squish it all together, and I'm going to use a little piece of wire to secure it. So I'm going to put a piece of wire in the middle. You can use a chenille stem here if you'd rather, if you don't want to mess with the wire. You can even tie this with ribbon. But I'm going to use this wire to secure this bow to the wreath. So that's why I like to use this wire. Alright, so I've got my wire in place. Now I'm going to cut these tails to match. And I did these kind of short and stubby on purpose. I want him to look like a snowman. I don't want him to be very feminine, although the flowers and things are probably going to go a little more feminine than we probably want them to, but I'm doing those very stubby like that to be like a scarf. Now I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to wire it to the wreath form. Oh, before we do that, I'm glad I thought about this. Okay, another thing I want to do, you got to think of this in stages, and I want to hang this little snowflake from this area. I want it to actually hang into the middle, as much into the middle as I can get it with this string that it comes with. And I think if I hot glue it right here, it's going to hang just right. Okay, so I'm going to hot glue the knot to the wreath form. Now, I'm not going to use this for an outdoor wreath. Okay, you notice I'm using a lot of hot glue, being very simple with how I'm putting these things on. I don't feel like this is a lot of outdoor material, so this is going to stay inside. Okay, I feel better now that I got my little snowflake there. Now I can put my bow on. And I'm going to put it in this area. Now don't worry at first. Because we're wiring this on, we can move this thing around anywhere we want to move it to. I just want to get it put on first. Alright, so I've got my bow where I want it. Pretty much. I can always mess with it. Plus I'm using a wired edge ribbon, which I always suggest using wired edge. And see how I can move that around because I have it wired in place? Don't worry, when you hang this up, this guy will hang down. Okay, so I'm going to leave that here for now. I'm going to use some of these flowers that I bought on the sides of this. So I'm actually going to adhere them to where they come out to the side like this. So I'm going to use hot glue to do that. And what I do is I run a lot of glue on this stem, top and bottom. Then when I stick this in there, it's going to catch wherever it needs to be. It's going to stick to the bow, it's going to stick to the wreaths, it's going to stick wherever that glue lands. Don't worry, I keep saying don't worry. We're going to come back and zhuzh everything up. We're just going to get it in place.
Is zhuzh a technical term
Zhuzh
too?
is also technical, yes. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that.
It is. All right, I'm going to put one more on this side of the scarf, and I kind of have this stem kind of angled differently because I want this one to kind of go across and a little more up, just for interest. So this one I'm going to tuck in really deep. Oh, I got a little hot glue on that one. It's going to tuck in really far in there, and I'm even going to leave it in there and glue it in place from putting glue on the back side of it. And just let that sit and glue. Now one thing I do want to do is I don't like this big open space here, so I want to put something in there. And I told you I was going to use something from these flowers to do that. I'm going to take one of these that I bought apart, And the reason is I want to use some on the hat and I want to use some here. So I'm coming in here just kind of wiggling and taking it apart. So you see I've glued down one leaf that I took off here. Now I've got some of these little greenery pieces. I'm going to put one of those there, and I'm just putting some glue on the edge of the piece and just sticking it down, letting it sit. And then I have one of these little bells from the middle. Again, I'm putting glue on it and then sticking it to kind of cover up where that is sticking. Isn't that cute on that hat? I think that's so cute. Okay, now then, back to the bow. I'm going to put some greenery in the center here, just like we were just doing. Just stick that in there. Then I have this big bell that came out of the arrangement, or came out of the little flower pick. And I'm going to put a whole lot of glue on it and stick it into place and hold it. Okay, now in the middle, I'm just going to use those little twine snowflakes. I have 2 more of them, okay? And here's what I'm going to do. One of them, I'm going to adhere so that it hangs to the bottom, like the bottom button. This is going to be like his top button. This is his bottom button. Then I'm going to adhere one right in the middle to be his center button. So this one we're going to do just like we did with the last one and use hot glue on this knot. Just place that into the wreath and let it catch, just like so. Now for this guy, I don't need this piece at the top because I'm actually going to glue him straight down. So I'm going to cut his little hanger off. And he's going to get glued on top of the wire that's holding our wreaths together. Okay, we're going to work in this area. The reason is, and I know it's hard for you to see, but for his scarf and the first greenery, we worked to sort of his right-hand side, depending on which side of the room you're on. This time we're going to work more to this side. It's going to kind of balance out the weight of the snowman. When you see it hanging, you'll understand what I'm saying. I had more weight to one side of him, so I'm going to come over here and add a little weight. And I'm going to do that with these 2 guys, okay? But I've actually kind of crossed them. See, they're 2 picks, and I'm just going to stick them together. And I'm going to wire them together to make them to one piece so that gluing them down will be super easy. Now normally I would use these pieces to wire them together, but these guys are really stiff. I had a hard time getting them even to bend over, so I'm just going to use a piece of wire and not stress about that at all. I love that jingle bell sound. Jingle bells, jingle bells. Okay. Pull them close together. So we're all wired together, and now I'm just going to put the glue in place, and I'm going to use a lot of glue. And then we're going to just place this on this edge and let that glue sink in and dry. Now what I'm going to do, remember how I told you not to worry, we'd go back and zhuzh everything up? All of these pieces that I purchased have wire in them, and I suggest if you're purchasing floral pieces, get the ones that are very wired, because you can make them go wherever you want them to go, including these middle pieces. The little bells are on wire, so if I want to turn that up so you can see it more, I can do that. I love to use things that are wired. Now, that's pretty much it. And I know you can't see him very well, so we're going to hang him up, and then I'm going to do another video pan for you to see what he looks like. But how simple. It really was not hard. The hardest part of the whole thing is this bow. And if you master making a bow, the rest is just hot gluing on. So thanks, guys, for watching the second day in Christmas in July 2015. I'll be back tomorrow with another craft that is inspired by the pins that you put on our Pinterest board called Christmas in July for you, by you. If you'd like to pin something to our board for me to be able to be inspired by it, the link to that is below. Thanks so much for watching today, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.